are new. I'm new. Thank you, Josh. This will be followed by participation from anyone who has experience with this 12 steps or questions from anyone on this topic. Josh will speak for 30 minutes and I will throw up a cute little flashcard when you have 5 minutes left, Josh.
Cool. Is it all mine? What's going on, guys? I'm Josh. I'm a recovered alcoholic and recovered love addict. And it's only, someone's blowing kisses at me right now. It's only recent that I started saying that I'm recovered. And I think that that's the beautiful thing about being in this recovery process, that as I work the program of Alcoholics Anonymous, as I work the program of recovery, as I'm of service to others, as I'm a part of fellowship, I actually can become recovered. And it says that in the big book, that it's like, here's the story of thousands of men and women who have become recovered. You know, that it's like that we don't have to be in this hopeless state of body and mind, but I think that's the hope and that's the promise of working the program and actually coming into recovery. So a bit about me. I've been in recovery now for 6 years or so, 7 years. And when I came in, there was a lot of things that I knew was kind of wrong with my life, right? I knew I didn't I knew the fantasy life. I really struggled with that, and my drinking. I knew I drank more than I should, and I had a lot of guilt around that because I grew up in a religious home and I went to church and I had all these things, and it's like I was doing things and I didn't want to be that person. But I just wanted a little bit of pain relief. I just wanted something to be like, I wasn't really ready to abandon myself to this program of recovery. I didn't even know what this program of recovery was. I had no idea. But I remember just being like, okay, you know what? I'm gonna step forward and I'm gonna let's try and curb my behavior. Let's try and set up these perimeters and boundaries and let's make it happen. And reaching out to other people. And that was never enough. And it wasn't until I hit my bottom that I actually had to take a different measure. And when we talk about bottom, bottoms or rock bottom, like rock bottom is really death, and bottom is just like, everyone has different bottoms. And when I think of bottom, I think of it's me throwing my hands up in the air saying, I've had enough. Like, I give up, that's it. What do I have to do? So my bottom came 2 years ago, that it's like, I give up, I've had enough. And it was, things just started getting hard enough and more difficult for me that it's like, I have to actually I need to actually make a change into something. So that's where I really took a step forward into the program of recovery. And the reason I want to share on acceptance today was, acceptance, I would say, is the hardest thing, is one of the biggest things that I've had to, accept and deal with and overcome in this program, because I was not this low bottom drunk. I was not this low bottom. I wasn't this low bottom fantasy guy. But even with me saying that, it's like, I spent how many months in these rooms and in these meetings, and I'd be like, I just spent all the time looking at everyone, and I'm looking at this guy and I'm not like that, and I'm looking at you and I'm like, I'm not like that. And it's like, how sick am I that in the realm of society, I'm at the bottom of the barrel, and it's like, and I'm looking at everyone else who's in the bottom of the barrel, and it's like, at least I'm not like that. Like, I'm not looking at people who are actually doing well, and people that I'm looking at people that are, I'm in the bottom percentage here. I'm looking at everyone else who's in the bottom percentage with me. And there's a quote in the big book, and it says, the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous, and it says, most of us have been unwilling to admit that we are real alcoholics. No person likes to think he is different from his fellows. And it's like, who here just wants to belong? Like, who here just wants to be accepted? Like, my entire life, that's all I wanted. I didn't want to be different. I just want to blend in. I just want to fit in. I just want to be the same as everyone else. And now I'm seeing, it's like, I don't want to be different from everyone else. I don't want to stand out from everyone else. And it goes on to say, the idea that somehow someday he will control and enjoy his drinking, the idea that somehow someday he will control and enjoy his fantasy is the obsession, is the great obsession of every abnormal drinker. And I always thought that this was just a temporary thing for me. You know, that this is just a little hiccup in my life. Let's get some things in order and then we can carry on. But again, I lived in this world of comparing myself to everyone around me, comparing myself to every story that I heard and everyone's consequence and everyone's experience. And I'm so focused on everything on the outside, and I wasn't actually focused on what was happening on the inside to me. You know, I was so focused on, oh, this guy went to jail, and that guy had 5 wives, and that guy, you know, went to prison, and this guy, and all these things. And I'm like, I don't know. I don't have all those stories. So I guess I don't belong. You know, and when I did that, I'm not accepting what my actual reality is. And I would keep my hand out in front of me and say, you know what? I don't want to listen to this because I don't actually really want to identify with you. I don't want to actually see the commonalities. I'm just looking at the differences. And I went to meetings. I got a sponsor. I started doing the work, and it's like, and I would keep going forward with the work, and it's like, but there was still that lingering notion that I actually wasn't convinced, you know, of step one, you know, that I'm powerless over alcohol, that I'm powerless over fantasy, and that my life had become unmanageable, you know. And it wasn't until someone actually qualified me. And we look at page, you know, 44 of the big book. And it says, if, when you honestly want to, you find you cannot quit entirely, or if when drinking, or if when fantasizing, you have little control over the amount you take, you are probably alcoholic. They're trying to be nice. It's not probably, you are alcoholic if that's the case. If that be the case, you may be suffering from an illness which only a spiritual experience will conquer. And all of a sudden, when I started looking at that, I said, man, I am going to quit. I'm done. And it's like, and I wanted to quit because, again, I was living a life that I didn't actually want to live. So I said I was going to quit. And there were times, you know, if when drinking, if when fantasizing, that I had little control over the amount that I took. That was me too. I thought, the way I interpreted it, before even reading this, the way I thought of addiction was every time it had to be, you know, I'd have a 2-4 in me. I'd have a needle in my arm. Whatever it was. And I didn't actually look at the thing of, did I say I was going to do this today? And then it turned into a little bit more. And the thing about addiction, the thing about alcoholism, the thing about codependency and all this stuff is this is all progressive. This is all progressive disease. So even though it starts here, it always ends up here, you know. And so for some people, it's like they start off right at the bottom, you know, and some people it's here, and then at some point it dips off. And because of that, I'd struggle accepting it, accepting that I was bodily different, accepting that I was mentally different, accepting that I was powerless, accepting that my life was unmanageable. And, you know, you look at, you know, if we look at, you know, the concept of worship, you know, and in the big book, it says, you know, and it's later on in the steps, and it's like, you know, throughout our day, it's like we pray to God and we say, you know, thy will, not mine, be done. And it's like, you look at my life and it's like, for worship, it's like, where do you spend your time? Where do you spend your thinking? Where do you spend your energy? Where do you spend your finances? Take each day of your week. Start putting that out on paper. And it's like, and you'll know really quickly, what are you worshiping in your life? So when I was living in my addiction, that's what it was. It was alcohol, and it was this fantasy. That's what I was worshiping. That's what I wanted. Instead of praying to God, I thought I was a Christian. I thought I believed in God. I thought all these things. I had no power. I had no access to this power of God. But instead of me looking at God and saying, God, thy will, not mine, be done. I'm looking to these things and I'm saying, thy will, not mine, be done. Give me that ease and comfort that I need. Give me that satisfaction that I need. Give me that validation that I need. And the thing was, that's what it might have started out at, but there came a point that it's no longer ease and comfort. This is just something that I'm doing just to get through my day. This is just a numbing agent for me to somehow cope in this world because I have no idea what I'm doing. And it keeps going on in the big book. It says, and they talk about powerlessness and they say, let me just read it here. On page 24, if you have a big book, this is like the textbook of recovery for the 12 steps. And it says, page 24, first full paragraph. Anytime you see something italicized, take note, it's of importance. And it says, the fact is that most alcoholics, for reasons yet obscure, have lost the power of choice in drink. The fact is that most love addicts, for reasons yet obscure, have lost the power of choice in fantasy. Insert whatever it is there, food, codependency, chaos creating, gambling, throw in whatever you identify with. Our so-called willpower becomes practically non-existent. We are unable at certain times to bring into consciousness with sufficient force the memory of the suffering and humiliation of even a week or a month ago. We are defense without the first drink. Of course I had power. Of course I had choice. Like you're telling me, it's like did you really have a choice? I would have been like, of course I did. But remember, I told everyone I'm done. I'm not going to do it again. I told myself that I'm done. I told God, like, I'm done. It's like, I don't want to be disappointing people all the time. I don't want to be disappointing myself anymore. And I had good reasons not to. I had a great job, married for how many years, 10 years, 12 years. And it's like 2 little kids at the time. And it's like, I didn't really want to, but yet I did it anyways. So did I actually have a choice in that? And yet when I did that, I didn't actually remember what happened beforehand. I didn't remember actually the consequences, and I didn't remember the pain. I didn't remember the suffering. I recently talked to a guy who went through a relapse, and I remember just him telling me, being like, Josh, I don't want to die. I don't want to die. I don't want to die. I need help. Called him up the next day. Hey man, how are you doing today? Oh man, life is great. Back at work. Like, it's like, and it's just like, man, it's like just the way our brains, the way my brain is wired. And then I could tell by how he responded, is the way his brain is wired the same way. But I don't remember that pain, and I don't remember that suffering, and I don't remember the consequences, that I'm having a difficulty accepting, that this is where I'm at. My life had, like, I had become powerless over this. My life had become unmanageable. And I don't mean unmanageable like all the external stuff, but my life was unmanageable on the inside. I was full of fear, resentment, guilt, shame. I'm irritable, discontent, restlessness. I'm prone, in the big book, it talks about these bedevilments. I'm prone to misery. I'm prone to anxiety. I'm prone, I can't be of help to real others. Difficulty, working, trouble in every relationship that I had. But why am I not thinking about that? Josh isn't that bad, because I'm comparing it to someone over here. And it's like, and I can't actually look at myself. But if I've lost this power, if I don't have the power of choice, and my own willpower at times isn't enough to actually, keep me away from the drink, or keep me away from the fantasy or the website or whatever it is, in your case, it's like, it's saying I actually need a defense. I need a power greater than myself. I need a defense, against this. And that has to come from a higher power. That has to come from God. That I need to get into spiritual shape. I need to get spiritually fit in order. That's going to be my main line of defense. And when I think of acceptance, I think of like, I can't actually begin to get sober. I can't begin to get clean. I can't begin to get emotionally sober. I can't, whatever it is, I can't begin that until I actually accept my addiction and I accept where I'm at. And I have to actually accept the big thing that I'm processing right now, the big thing I'm working through is I need to accept that the world is going to be what it will be. You know, my wife is going to do what she's going to do. Doug Ford and the government is going to put on whatever restrictions they're going to put on, and that's going to be what it's going to be. Zoom is going to put out some policy one day, and that's going to be what it's going to be. And it's like, and I actually can't rely on, like, I need to accept that all that stuff is going to happen, and yet I can still be okay. You know, I need to accept that the outside things don't need to actually control me. They don't need to actually control how Josh is and how Josh is reacting, and my own serenity and my own peace. I need to focus. How do I say it? I need to start focusing not on all of that stuff, not on my wife, not on my kids, not on, like, even I had a realization about this 2 nights ago, that I've had this pattern. I'm not saying cleaning your house is bad. Cleaning your house is very good. Yet I can be a different type of cleaner. And I realized that, you know, we have this routine: supper, clean up, get the kids, and it's like, you know, 3 little kids, it's like military time here. Like, we're go, go, go. It's like, yeah, you better not step out of line, Henry, or it's like, and my kids are all under 4. But I realized the other night, Joanne was with the baby. She's breastfeeding the baby. I got the other 2 kids running around. And my mind says, what I always do is I need to actually get this whole house cleaned up. I need to get the kitchen cleaned up, the living room, all this stuff cleaned up. Then I can get the kids to bed. So that way when I come down, everything is good. The outside is good. So now I can be good. Now I can be at peace. Now I can be at rest. And there was a moment that happened, I think it was Monday night. And my son asked me, and he never says this, but he's just like, Dad, it's like, can you just hold me right now? So I picked him up, held him, said, yeah, can we go upstairs? We went upstairs, and I'm like, and the kitchen is a mess. The dining room is a mess. I've swept the floor 10 times today, and it's still a mess. And the house is a chaos. And I'm just like, I brought him up. I brought his younger sister up, and I'm like, let's just go read stories. I put him to bed. And I'm like, can I be okay that I don't need to actually control the outside of having this whole house clean in order for me to be okay? Can I just say, you know what? I need to actually be present in this moment here. And then from that, God's going to actually give me that peace that I need. God's going to actually give me that strength that I need, that I don't have to be coming down the stairs after I get them to bed and be like, screw my life. Look at this. I'm going to be cleaning for an hour and a half. That I don't have to think that I actually get to just be like, how do you want me to be right now, God? Can I accept that the outside is going to be what it's going to be? And I can still be okay, that I don't have to control every little thing. You know, and I think it's funny, like, if I kind of want to say, like, who thinks that they're here by mistake? Like, like, growing up, I never would have thought that I would be, you know, I never thought that I'd be in recovery. I never thought that, you know, my life would actually take me away from the trades. I never thought that I'd be coming to these noontime recovery meetings with you, bottom of the barrel people, unless you're just checking it out and you're not a bottom of the barrel person. So I apologize if you are new and you're but I had this notion that I did not belong here. When I come in, I don't accept it. Josh wasn't built to be a part of a 12-step meeting. I am greater than that. If you had my problems, you would fantasize too. If you had my problems, you would drink too. But again, I'm looking at all this stuff on the outside. Those were all my problems. That's what I thought it was. But really, my problems are all on the inside. It's this, what we just read, that paragraph Vicky just read. I'm full of selfishness. I'm full of self-centeredness, self-pity. This is where the problems are. And this is what I need to focus on. I need to accept that the problem is with me. The problem isn't with all of you. Where do I want to go from here? I wrote a note earlier today and I put it on my screen here because I want to share it. Am I accepting that I need to do whatever it takes? Am I able to accept that my life run on self-will will become hopeless? Because maybe you're here and you're like, man, life isn't actually that bad. Maybe it's like I got this good job and maybe I got like all this stuff and it's like, it's not that bad. And I'm not like that person, or I'm not at the shelter. I'm not whatever, but it's like, am I able to accept that my life run on self-will? I'm actually going to become hopeless. Maybe I'm hopeless now. Maybe I'll be hopeless in a year from now, whatever it is. Or can I accept that I need a power greater than myself? Can I accept that I actually need God to come in and not restore me, but I need God to come in and resurrect me and create in me a new being. That it's not about me trying to carry on this way of life that I thought it needs to go, but God's actually going to give me a new life, and out of that new life, off to the races. Here we go. So I want to share with one quote out of the big book. So at the end of the big book, there's all these different stories, and I had a friend read a portion of this to me the other day. Not this paragraph, but it reminded me that this was one of the first stories that I read when I came into recovery. And this story, so anyways, at the end of the big book, there's all these different stories about people who have gone through the program of Alcoholics Anonymous. So on page 420, it says, second last paragraph, acceptance is the key to my relationship with God today. I never just sit and do nothing while waiting for him to tell me what to do. Rather, I do whatever is in front of me to be done, and I leave the results up to him. However it turns out, that's God's will for me. I must keep my magic magnifying mind on my acceptance and off my expectations, for my serenity is directly proportional to my level of acceptance. When I remember this, I can see I've never had it so good. Acceptance is the key to my relationship with God today. When I accept that I'm powerless, when I accept that my life is unmanageable, when I accept that a life run on self-will isn't actually going to be going anywhere or isn't as great as I thought it would be, that's what I need to focus on today. And then my relationship with God can start moving in the right direction. That is all that's what I've put together for today. So thank you. I know I didn't get the timer coming up there, so I don't know where my time is at, but thank you for letting me be of service.